There are a few shows that can match your energy, but we're going to try.
Let's do it.
All right. Welcome. For people who've never heard of you, just qualify yourself, please, if you don't mind.
I'm a physician, author, speaker, GP in the States, specializing in clinical nutrition.
Okay, tell everybody about your website and about the videos you put out every day and what those have challenged and what you've learned and how popular they are and how they're funded and how free they are.
NutritionFacts.org is a free daily science-based resource. Everything on the website is free. No ads, no corporate sponsorship, strictly non-commercial, not selling anything. Just put it up as a public service, as a labor of love.
And if you want to sort of pin the tail on a donkey as far as your health is concerned, you have videos on basically everything.
Thousands of videos on all sorts of health topics, concentrating on diet and lifestyle approaches to not just prevent disease, but potentially arrest and reverse it as well.
Right, so How Not to Diet was one book, How Not to Die was another book, and this is the final book in the trilogy, I'm guessing, How Not to Age. What are the headlines from this book, Michael?
Well, only about 25% of the difference in lifespan between individuals is due to genetics based on studies of identical twins. So the question is, what can we do over the majority of which we have some control? And the good news is we have tremendous power over our health, destiny, and longevity. The vast majority of premature death and disability is preventable with a healthy enough diet and lifestyle.
All right, because you say that new research says that the number one killer now in the US is actually your diet. We are killing ourselves now.
The number one killer in the UK, according to the Global Burden of Disease Study, the number one cause of death and disability in the United Kingdom is the British diet, bumping tobacco smoking to number 2.
All right, okay. And in the top 5 of things that we don't do properly, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are not enough of, and number 1 is too much of. Give us that top 5.
Indeed. So 2 through 5, we're not getting enough legumes, beans, split peas, chickpeas, and lentils, not eating enough whole grains, not enough nuts and seeds, not enough vegetables. But the worst thing about humanity's diet is indeed something we're getting too much of: sodium, salt. We really should try to cut down on processed foods, which is where most of the sodium we get comes from.
All right, so that's sodium chloride. So if we go for potassium chloride instead, that's the win, isn't it?
There we go, potassium salt. Instead of sodium salt, potassium salt.
Right.
And there's interventional trials proving that you randomize people to even half and half potassium salt, sodium salt, which you wouldn't even taste the difference. Got a dramatic drop in cardiovascular disease mortality, dropping 40% within a matter of years. So it's proven cause and effect. We need to cut down on salt.
Right, so the book is, it's a big careful out there, everyone. That's what it is. So salt, let's speak to salt and kimchi. So you got to be careful of what's going on. There are lots of fads, lots of fun things to prepare at home that might not be good for you. I was going to have February as my kimchi month, but now I'm rethinking that. Why might I be rethinking that?
Yeah, unfortunately, kimchi is the reason why Korea has the number 1 stomach cancer rates in the world, followed by Japan, because they eat these salted fermented vegetables, salted fermented fish. And so really, we really need to cut down on salt. So salt isn't just about high blood pressure, isn't just about putting stress on our kidneys and our eyesight, but it is a primary risk factor for the development of stomach cancer, which is not very common in this country, but is a leading cancer killer around the world.
So because I sweat every day because I'm quite fit and I have a sauna every day, some people have said you don't have enough salt, so I'm having electrolytes and getting a bit personal now. And I'm reading it thinking, no, I've already got enough salt. What do we do if we exercise more, if we should sweat, if we do sweat a bit more? Is there anybody who doesn't have enough salt at any point in the day?
Look, for millions of years, we evolved running around. Did we have sports drinks? Did we have electrolytes? Do we have salt shakers? Did we have restaurants giving us salty food? No, we can get all the sodium we need from the natural foods growing out of the ground.
Electrolytes is a massive business. What do we say?
Oh, there you go.
I know.
Is it possible that that's why you're taking electrolytes? You hear about electrolytes because people are making money off of selling salt water.
So no
it's
electrolytes.
All profit.
0 electrolytes we need in our lives.
Well, you need electrolytes, but you can get them from food.
Okay.
You don't need to take some supplement.
If we have a plant-based diet, like because my wife is completely plant-based and I'm whatever she gives me, basically, most of the time. Am I okay then? I don't need electrolytes.
Oh, you get all the electrolytes you want from these wonderful foods. In fact, we're not getting enough potassium. Where's potassium found? Beans and greens, all these healthy foods your wife is cooking you.
What if we run the marathon like we're going to do in a couple of weeks' time in London?
Oh, fantastic.
During that, do we need electrolytes?
You just need proper hydration. You can get all the electrolytes you need from food.
But during the race,
you do not need to be. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, there are some people with salt wasting syndromes, kidney problems, on certain drugs that you lose extra sodium. And so if your doctor tells you need salt, but for the general public,
oh my God,
just get it from food.
I got to change everything. I thought I was doing all right. I've got to change everything. I love everything in this book, How Not to Age, by Michael Greger. We'll get into the 3 sections of the book. There's actually 4, but sort of 3 narratives, and then there's a bonus bit at the end. Let's talk about a lovely take on things. No matter what you're putting in your mouth, there's usually something better unless you're putting the best thing in your mouth. So I like bananas. I have a smoothie every day. I have all the great stuff in the smoothie. You say, bananas are great, but blueberries are better. What's the 3 best fruits we can put in our mouths on a daily basis?
Well, berries. Yeah, so berries. Absolutely. So any kind of berries have these anthocyanin pigments, which are responsible for those bright colors in berries. That is why we think berries in interventional trials can significantly improve cognition, blood flow to the brain, eyesight, artery function in prove randomized controlled trials, though they are cleared from our bloodstream in about 6 hours. So ideally, we'd be having berries at every meal. What a perfect dessert. Or there are savory sources of these same plant pigments like in hibiscus tea, for example, or red cabbage, purple sweet potatoes. But we really should be trying to get these anthocyanin and berry pigments in 3 times a day.
Right, and I know goji berries. Goji berries are our go-to, but there's better berries, especially in Asian supermarkets.
Well, goji berries are the way to get. Asian supermarkets are where you get cheap goji berries, cheaper than raisins, in fact.
For what bags cost on the line.
Absolutely, right. And also called wolfberries or lycium berries.
That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah. But those are goji berries. But if you get them at the fancy posh shops, you're going to be spending too much money.
Okay, you're also a massive fan of a particular grape. It's a purple grape with big seeds.
Only because that's one of the few grapes you can actually get with seeds these days.
Right.
I'm in favor of any grape you can get with seeds, but I can find, at least in the States, in these Korean food markets, you can get these big mountain grapes with these monster seeds, which are nice and crunchy, and that's where most of the nutrition of grape is actually found, in the seeds, then the skin, and finally the fruit.
All right, this is all in the book. Okay, there are pages and pages and pages, and even though it's a 600-page book, you can dip in and out. If you have an issue, go to the index, say, is it to do with your hair, or is it to do with your skin, or is it to do with your lungs, or is it to do with your breath, or is it to do with your sleep, or it's all in this Bible, this gorgeous book, How Not to Age. You can do little else better for you ever than eat broccoli. Is that right?
Cruciferous vegetables, dark green leafy vegetables in general, but then cruciferous vegetables like the kale and collard greens, broccoli. Yeah, absolutely. That is one of the healthiest foods. It actually slow downs our metabolic rate, such that like candle that burns half as bright burns twice as long. Wow. And that's a critical reason. The nitrates in dark green leafy vegetables in general. Popeye was right about the spinach, not the pipe smoking.
And they say that if you could get what you get from broccoli in a pill, it would be the greatest selling pill on the market. But people don't realize that what you could get in that pill, you can get in broccoli. The thing is, they can't patent it, they can't process it, they can't formalize it. Is it true that an American company tried to patent broccoli a few years ago? Did you hear about that? That's hilarious, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. Well, but how can you make... Now, but part of that, we kind of laugh at that. But what if they did actually have a patent on broccoli? Then they'd actually spend millions of dollars maybe doing the research, getting it out there, putting ads on the Super Bowl saying, eat broccoli. And the reason we never hear about broccoli, the reason we hear about junk food and fast food is because that's where the money's made. And so we're bombarded by those ads. I would love to be bombarded by broccoli ads.
Bring on the broccoli ads.
That's right.
Is it true that broccoli is so good for you that if you eat a couple of handfuls a week before a barbecue full of meat, which I know you don't like, but let's just go with it for a second, is it true that broccoli is such a super fuel that it can help offset the adverse effects of meat?
The way it works is by improving our detox enzymes, boosting the detox enzymes in our liver as well as our airways, so that's how it can improve asthma. There were studies in which they drip basically diesel exhaust into people's noses, significantly cut down on inflammation because it so enhances the detoxification pathways and can work indeed a week in advance. So you're going to some barbecue in a week, significantly cut down on the amount of polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons flowing through your body that you'd get from the barbecued meat. night if you just had some broccoli, even a week before. In fact, you get less of a caffeine buzz if you've been eating broccoli because your liver detoxifies it so fast, so you have to drink some more caffeine.
Is it true? And again, these are all. There's a light-hearted aspect to this, of course, but we understand the serious implications, the fatal implications of smoking, for example. But is it true that if you are a smoker and you eat broccoli, it sort of makes it a bit more okay to smoke?
You significantly cut down on the amount of toxins flowing through your body, measured in the urine, if indeed smokers are eating broccoli. The concern by telling people that is that it gives kind of smokers an excuse and out. And so if you give randomized smokers to so-called, antioxidant supplements, but really just placebos, it turns out that smokers given the antioxidant supplements actually go on to smoke more cigarettes, less likely to quit because they have this, I'm somehow counteracting the effect. So that's why you really want to cut down the amount of toxins flowing through your body. Don't smoke in the first place.
The only reason I was saying that, and I know you've talked about it before, is to try and sort of super highlight how amazing broccoli is. It can even help that.
Amazing.
That's
Absolutely.
the point, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Don't smoke, eat more broccoli. That's the thing there.
I love it.
Should we talk about resveratrol? So let's talk about drinking. Let's talk about drinking first. We'll get on to wine in a bit. Water. How much water should we drink? What kind of water should we drink? When should we drink the water, depending on what we're doing, etc.? Please discuss, Doctor.
I encourage people to hydrate. Absolutely. And as we get older, our taste sensitivity, our thirst sensitivity goes down. Our ability to concentrate urine goes down. So particularly important as we get older to make sure we're adequately hydrated. Affects a number of different body systems, even our skin. We can improve the appearance of our skin by maintaining proper hydration. The best beverage out there is water, followed by tea and coffee.
Okay, green tea?
Green tea or black tea. They both actually have different compounds. And so though green tea has a slight advantage on longevity, both associated with significantly lower risk of premature death. So those drinking 3 cups of tea, 24% lower risk of premature death compared to non-tea drinkers. The Brits have it right.
Can we drink too much water as we get older because our liver can't cope with it?
It's not so much our liver, it's our kidneys. So there is a limit. You can actually wash the electrolytes out of your brain and actually get something called hyponatremia. You wash the sodium out of your brain, and you could fall down, get dizzy, crack your skull open. It could be a very serious issue, and that's why even drinking something like Gatorade, some of these electrolyte drinks, you drink too much, you can wash out the electrolytes of your system.
So how do we figure that out? Just the man in the street, the woman in the street. How do we know what's best for us?
You can actually check out the color of your urine. We want to have nice, pale, straw-colored, light yellow urine.
Right.
It's actually a pretty good indicator for young, old, pregnant. And it's not a perfect indicator, but it's kind of the best we have without actually taking blood and measuring.
And there are more videos. You got all videos on all this.
Of course I do.
Okay. What's the video website again?
At nutritionfacts.org.
Okay. You literally can get. If you want to get addicted to something, get addicted to these videos because they're good for you. Let's talk about meat. You speak to meat in the book a lot. If you are going to eat meat, you don't eat meat at all, do you?
No,
but if you are going to eat meat, there are less harmful ways of preparing it.
Absolutely. Yeah, one of the reasons why, eating a burger is associated with a contraction lifespan like smoking 2 cigarettes. So if we wouldn't even, consider lighting up before and after lunch, maybe we should choose like the, bean burrito instead or something. But one of the main problems with meat are these so-called advanced glycation end products, or glycotoxins, which are formed, not actually found so much in the meat itself, but formed when the meat is exposed to high dry temperatures. So it's the baking, the broiling, the barbecuing, that forms these toxic compounds. So we really should use water-based methods. So poaching, steaming, stewing, soups, that's the best way to prepare meat, significantly less toxic than meat prepared in a more traditional dry method.
But just don't eat meat. You would say don't eat meat, but if you are going to eat meat, try not to deep fry or give it lots of heat, basically.
Look, it doesn't matter what you eat on your birthdays, holidays, special occasions, but on a day-to-day basis, we really should try to center our diets around the healthiest foods out there, real food growing out of the ground, unprocessed plant foods.
Okay, all right. So speaking to meat now, and bacon, and sausages, and all that salt and savoury stuff, I probably in my life have had in the thousands of sausages, in the thousands of bacon. I hardly have it at all anymore, if ever. Has all that damage been done, or can we unrepair that damage?
Well, unfortunately, because processed meat, bacon, ham, hot dogs, lunch meat, increases our risk of colorectal cancer.
Yeah.
This is the #1 cancer killer among non-smokers. Increasing risk, just 50 grams a day increases risk 18% for this leading cancer killer, and unfortunately the latency period, meaning the time between that first initial genetic mutation and when we actually get diagnosed with cancer for something like colorectal cancer can be 50 years.
Right.
So it could be like what you ate as a kid could then manifest later in life. However, we can slow down the rate at which many of these so-called epithelial cancers grow by eating healthy, decreasing our risk of the same pro-aging hormones that accelerate the growth of tumors. For example, decreasing IGF-1, decreasing this enzyme called mTOR, all found in the book.
Any big reversal headlines? Is there any reversal in there?
In terms of cancer?
Anything. Give us the 3 big reversals.
Oh, my God. Well, we can reverse. How about the #1 killer of men and women in this country, ischemic heart disease? We can prevent, arrest, even reverse the course, open up arteries without drugs, without surgery, just a plant-based diet and lifestyle program, first proven 1990 in The Lancet, one of the most famous medical journals on the planet, by Dr. Dean Ornish and colleagues. So for decades, we've known we can reverse the #1 killer of Britons, yet we continue to die of this preventable, arrestable, reversible condition. Other leading killers like type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure can be reversed if that's all a plant-based diet can do. Reverse the #1 killer of men and women. Shouldn't that kind of be the default diet to prove it otherwise? And the fact that can also prevent, arrest, reverse other leading killers like the type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure would seem to make the case for plant-based eating simply overwhelming.
My hands, when we go running, especially at the weekend, especially when it's -4, -5, my hands get really cold, right? You talk about opening arteries. Can I open capillaries? Is there anything I can eat for circulation?
Well, so wear some gloves. But actually, by eating
citrus... It doesn't work if I wear the gloves.
So there are compounds in citrus. I mean, that's actually your body's natural response, right? Well, in cold wants to draw blood to the center. And will even, sacrifice fingers and toes to maintain that central body heat. So that's a natural, normal reaction. But you can actually... improve blood flow to the periphery with compounds found in citrus. So if you give people, have people eat randomize people to eat an orange or not, like an orange drink versus a fake orange drink, and then have them plunge their hands into ice water and measure the heat in their fingertips, you can actually get significantly warmer fingertips if you had some citrus that morning before you went out running.
What's the single most important thing for blokes to eat? What's the best thing, the one thing they can eat? And then we'll get on to women.
Oh, well, I mean, really for both. I mean, if there were 3 foods we could add to our diet.
Here we go. The big 3, everyone. Drum roll.
It would be beans, berries, and greens. So greens are the healthiest vegetables, beans, healthiest source of protein, and berries, the healthiest fruit. If we could just add 3 things to our diet, that would be the best for both men and women.
You hear about cranberry for blokes and tomatoes.
Yeah.
Tell us about those.
Even an eighth of a teaspoon of dried cranberry powder significantly improves prostate symptoms in older men, having to get up multiple times in the middle of the night to urinate. And so the reason we haven't heard about this is because there's just no money to be made. It would be like a pence a week to get that much dried cranberry powder. And the tomatoes, processed tomato products like tomato paste, tomato sauce, can reduce the risk of prostate cancer, which is a leading cancer of men.
All right, what about for women?
For women, in terms of getting older, facing menopausal symptoms like hot flashes, these so-called vasomotor symptoms, so soy foods can decrease. So randomizing people to half a cup of unsalted soy nuts a day decreases over a control group 40 to 45% within 2 weeks of these hot flashes. And so, in Europe and North America, hot flashes are considered inevitable through menopause. But in the Japanese language, there isn't even a word for hot flash because they have the highest per capita soy consumption.
You're a massive fan of soy and soy milk especially.
Soy milk would definitely be the healthiest plant-based milk out there.
Okay. There are really sort of fun headlines again. Not fun once you dive in, but on the surface, Coca-Cola is good for you.
Well, only compared to dairy milk, for example, in terms of IGF-1,
Yeah. But it's
this
out there, isn't
pro-aging
it?
hormone. Well, I mean, there was a study. That's the only study I could ever find. I could find no other studies that Coca-Cola beat out anything for basically any other. Yeah, but there was a very interesting study, but just shows how powerful the dairy protein can boost the level of this pro-cancer, pro-aging enzyme.
Yeah, but generally not
IGF-1.
very good for you at all.
Yeah.
Our kids put syrup on their cereal instead of sugar.
Oh.
Maple syrup.
It's sugar. They're
sugar,
adding
isn't it?
sugar in a different form. Tastier sugar maybe, but it's just sugar.
Yeah, it's more beautiful.
So how about date powder? So
Yeah.
powdered dates, single ingredients, a whole food, just pulverized. And so you just sprinkle some date powder on, and they just added a whole food to make it sweet.
Yeah, on hot on the heels of How Not to Age will be the How Not to Age cookbook. Big fan of your smoothies. Big fan of the powders. You talked about cranberry powder before. Another powder there. You can get a lot of stuff via these powders. Top 3 powders we could buy today or should buy for ourselves.
Well,
today.
I encourage people to eat a quarter teaspoon of turmeric a day, which is this kind of bright yellow.
Yeah.
What makes curry powder yellow? It has a compound called curcumin that has a number of benefits proven in randomized controlled trials. Ooh, if I could only pick 3, that's a toughie. So black cumin is another spice you can get in kind of Indian spice stores.
Yep.
And then if I had
ginger, would you go ginger?
Oh, dried ginger, that'd be great. So significantly, even a half teaspoon a day significantly decreases joint pain for osteoarthritis, the number one cause of physical disability in older men and women. Just it's just a plain ground ginger you can buy at any store, decreases nausea and vomiting for morning sickness and post-operative nausea and car sickness and a variety of anti-inflammatory effects.
So many people want to be better and want to live longer. You must get some pretty serious phone calls to your office from some pretty serious names and faces.
Well, I will. I mean, the saddest is I get people, newly diagnosed, reaching out, trying to get help. And certainly doing my best. So my next book's going to be on cancer. And so
What's it going to be called?
Probably How Not to Die from Cancer. It's a little more roast title.
Yeah.
The publisher might want to go with something else. But so unfortunately, I have to tell people, stay tuned.
Yeah. No, good.
We should know by December 2027.
All right, so the book is in three sections, and there's this big bonus section at the end. Section number 1, Slowing 11 Pathways of Aging. Section 2, The Optimal Anti-Aging Regimen. Section 3, Preserving Function. And then from the Daily Dozen, which you've talked about before, and I'm a fan, and all your fans know about that, you have Dr. Greger's Anti-Aging 8. Just speak to that for a second, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so these are the foods and habits that really are kind of our best hopes for slowing down the sands of time in terms of the aging process. The foods most associated with longevity. We talked about a few legumes on a per serving basis associated with the greatest expansion of lifespan, but actually on a gram for gram basis, nuts, a palmful of nuts a day, associated with compared to any other type of food, the greatest lifespan extension. Walnuts actually the best.
Mixed nuts would you go for?
Actually, walnuts because their artery protective functions actually kind of beat out mixed nuts. So I would go. So I rarely normally I'm like, well, whatever nuts, just eat any kind of apple you like. But walnuts really do. They have more omega-3s, more antioxidants than other nuts, and have these artery protective effects within hours.
Okay, and the palm
Just a palmful, just an ounce.
That's because of the fat, is it? Once it goes into your fingers, it gets fattier.
You just don't get any. You just don't get any more benefit.
Anymore.
You basically just kind of plateau. And even we have studies, even 3 palmfuls a week associated with significantly decreased all-cause mortality. Another one would be the berries. I talked about in these wonderful anthocyanin pigments. These are some of the foods I encourage people for a variety of reasons to try to fit into their daily diet. And the Daily Dozen is available as a free app, iPhone, Android.
Yeah.
So you can kind of
you
track
are,
your progress.
You're a Sunday Times bestseller. You're a New York Times bestseller. You're a global best-selling author. But it really isn't about the money for you. You put a lot of your money back into what you do.
In fact, all the proceeds I receive from all of my books are all donated directly to charity. I just want you and your loved ones to live the longest, healthiest life.
Is that? I didn't know
Every
that.
penny.
That's millions and millions of dollars.
It is indeed.
Wow. It also helps if you want to live longer if you are Jewish or Protestant. doesn't it, Doctor?
Well, certain types of Jews. So
It's in
Ashkenazi
there,
Jews,
isn't it?
it's true.
In there.
I know. Well, it's
Tell us about religion and living longer.
well, it's interesting. Well, so there is a certain genetic mutation among Ashkenazi Jews. It actually decreases the IGF-1 system, the insulin-like growth factor 1, which contributes to cancer and helps explain the higher longevity among that specific.
And Protestants as well?
And then the Protestant, that is, I forget what so I have a whole section on religiosity because that's an important component of many of the blue zones, these areas of
Dan Buettner knows
longest and
a thing or
healthiest.
two, doesn't he?
Exactly. Dan Buettner's amazing work in this area. And part of it is this kind of social connection, religion. The longest living population currently on the planet is the Seventh-day Adventists in Loma Linda, California. And the question is, does religion play a role? And so that's why I kind of did a deep dive.
Yeah.
But a lot of that, of the religion, it's really not the religion per se, but this kind of teaching to treat one's body as a temple. And so if your religion is telling you to stop smoking, to start eating healthier, to start moving, that's a religion I can get behind.
And also, religions are organized. And if you have a more organized life, you can organize your food better and your shopping better and your batch cooking better. And it all feeds into the same thing. It reminds me of, do you smile because you're happy or are you happy because you smile? And it's the same kind of beautifully sort of a glistening double-edged sword that feeds into one another. And what you speak to in the book about religiosity is the fact that it's community. It's you are tending to live a healthier, more virtuous lifestyle depending on what tribe you hang out with.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's this infectious quantity. If you hang out with people with really poor lifespan, your risk of acquiring the poor lifestyle behaviors of your colleagues really goes down. If you surround yourself by really healthy people who constantly inspire you to do that little extra, to eat a little healthier, to move a little more, well, then you're going to benefit from that.
Dr. Michael Greger, you are a good egg. Not that eggs are good for you.
Eggplant. I'm a good eggplant. Aubergine.
This book was going to be 1,200 pages. You got it down to 600 because they told you had to. It took you 3 years to write. Is that correct?
Yes.
Anything we have a minute left. Anything else you want to say?
Just that. Look, it's never too late. I don't want people to be intimidated. Yes, it's a big book, but really basic, simple lifestyle behaviors like eating more fruits and vegetables, walking 20 minutes a day, not being overweight, not smoking, can literally mean a difference in a decade. So that's 80. That gets you 80% of there. If you want that final 20% tweak, yes, I got lots of things to do with the book, but really basic, common sense lifestyle behaviors can mean that huge difference in your lifespan. Never too late to start eating healthier. Never too late to stop smoking. Never too late to start moving. We really do have the power.
It's never too late, but if we carry on talking, we'll be too late for the next show. Can we hear for Dr. Michael Greger, please, through to the control room, all through the building. You're the best, man. You are the best.
Virgin Radio.